Hey guys, hey, how you doing? Welcome to episode 19. Had to look at my notes. Of Staying Insane. We go on a retrospective journey through our lives in this episode. Just kind of think back and figure out what our influences and the people who have influenced us. Influencers? Yeah,
that sounds about right.
Yeah, whatever. Through our lives, through different stages, of up to who we are today. So hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for checking out.
Gentlemen, how are we tonight?
Feeling
As
weird.
Adam shovels down a pork chop. Feeling weird? Why are you feeling weird?
I don't know. Weird. Today's weird.
It's kind of like an off vibe kind of day.
Yeah, very.
So, Adam?
Great. Through my 21st, and I lived through it, so we're okay.
That's honestly a plus. I had to carry Austin into his house on his 21st birthday.
Ooh,
That's a rough.
that's
That's
yeah.
for the chat.
So, viewer, tonight will not be the typical night. I will not be the one asking the questions. Our dearest adopted lad, Adam, will. So, whenever you're ready, buddy.
Yeah. So I was thinking about. We talked a little bit about childhood expectations and living up to them, but we've never really talked about how we got to where we are now, or the different kinds of influences. I mean, we talked a little bit about influence, but we never really dissected that subject, and I thought it was a good one to go through for different age ranges, like what really got us into what we're into now, what got us into what we were into as a kid, what led us to our job paths, that kind of thing. So I'm thinking we just go through different age groups of our lives and just really talk about where we were there and how that might have reflected as nowadays as to who we are. I know I could go first if you guys know kind of where I'm going with this, because I'm not the best at explaining it, because this is the first time I've done it and it's gonna be horrible and no one will like this episode. It's gonna have so many dislikes. Oh my god.
First off, before we get started, do we want to break this up into sections of our life and do it that way? So all do childhood first and then go on from there.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Okay.
Take a couple different segments. We take up an hour. I don't know. I can talk a long time. If I feel like we're not gonna make it, just go back. So what do you think, Adam? And then I'll just go.
All right. Well, why don't you guys start it off? It is your question, so.
All right. So I'm thinking obviously there's 1 through 4. You're probably not doing much. You're probably just
vibing,
eating, pooping, crying. But after that, I'm thinking early childhood. I remember we'd have these huge rolls, just paper, and my mom and dad would just roll out this big sheet of it and cut it off. Me and my dad would just draw on it for hours, and just crayon, with the big 64 pack of crayons with every color that you could ever imagine. We would just draw anything. And then there would also be the coloring book side of that, which is just every coloring book you could imagine, just all of them, just great. That obviously took off throughout my life because I'd never stopped drawing, and that was the one thing I was good at. While everybody else was out there playing football and stuff, I was oh, I can draw, So I played an early part of my childhood, and I can remember back, I used to watch Toy Story 1 and 2 every other day, and just played a big part into the whole imagination factor of where life is at. Even now, still
Okay.
The amount of things I imagine or think about are beyond what I probably could have if I wouldn't have had the thought that I wonder if my toys are alive, I wonder if they go and do stuff when I'm not around. And sometimes my mom would set them up in a different way than I left them as a kid, and I would come back and I'd be like, oh, what the I was mind blown, oh my god, it moved, it has to be real. Yeah, that was a huge part of my childhood, Toy Story, and then I'd have the Toy Story toys, so I was I have the ones, this is the only Woody. Then I'd be like, wow, it's even got the Andy on his boot. And they're moving around and shit. Like, oh my god, my life is crazy. What can I say? Yeah, but that was like those early years of drawing on the floor on those huge sheets of rolled out paper and then like playing with Toy Story toys while watching the movies. I was like, this is what I'll do forever.
Okay.
You know, but that played an impact because the imaginative and the doing different voices or playing different characters came into effect obviously towards later years, which I'll talk about. But drawing thing was a big thing that I got out of those early years. Was like that stuck with me. It wasn't like the early years I probably wasn't as early into sports as everyone else was. Like, hey, let's do this or do that. It really like got the sports hook. I was just more of the like artsy Toy Story guy, and no one played sports in Toy Story, so therefore I was well, I was like, well, I don't need sports.
Okay.
But yeah, so like that kind of stuff is really like what I mean where I was like middle childhood.
God, Lord Almighty, please save me.
Stanley the cat.
Get off. Sorry about that, dear viewer.
Good.
Jeremy, you want to go first? Or let me go first. Me? Okay. So, when I was younger, we didn't have William and I are like, we're 1 year and 10 months apart. So, well, William and I did a lot of things together. We didn't have a lot of money when we were younger. My dad and my mom will admit to that now. So, I watched a lot of TV. I watched all the Toy Stories, and I think, like you, Adam, that's where a lot of my imagination came from. But also beyond that, William and I had to find ways to entertain ourselves, other than just sitting and watching TV, because we used to get yelled at for watching the boob tube too much. That's what Mom called it, endearingly. Also, yeah, the boob tube. So William and I had to figure stuff out. So we played a lot of stuff outside where he would throw things at me or shoot me with a bow and arrow. So that's kind of where I went with it. And then ever since I can remember, Angelina was actually the first one in our family because she's the oldest, but also she's the first one to play baseball. And I remember going to baseball games and sitting in the concession stand because Mom would help the concession stand, and then playing with all the other kids. That was a ton of fun to me. So I was like, I always wanted to play baseball. So like, as soon as I was old enough, Dad bought me a glove. Dad and Mom bought me a glove, and we started throwing around and stuff like that. And then William, being the follower he is, followed me into it also. So, but I think that's where really my sports career got started. I started playing baseball when I was like 6, maybe. Little t-ball, when it didn't really matter if you're a boy or girl. I mean, one of my friends, I'll tell you guys about her later. I don't think she watches this, but anyways, her and I played baseball forever. She played baseball up with me until I was 9, and then I had another friend who was actually my brother's girlfriend's sister, who played baseball with us up into like the 3rd year of Pony or something like that, when all the other guys were just harping on her because it's a girl playing baseball, which I always thought was dumb. She didn't care, but I just think they finally got to her is all, which kind of sucks. She was a great baseball player, great friend. She still is a good friend. I haven't talked to her in a long time, but I think that's really where my sports career took off. And this is kind of dipping into like early teenagehood, maybe late childhood. My friend Chance, he is actually the one that got me into football. We went to the same elementary school, obviously. We were best friends. We saw our best friends, or at least from what I understand. He hasn't told me he hates my guts. So, but I actually went to football practice the night I started because I wasn't sure about it. I was a bigger kid, but I was a gentle giant. I was a gentler giant than I am now. So I wasn't sure if I'd do well. So I actually took a book and was going to sit there and watch practice. And lo and behold, it was the last day to sign up for football. The day I went. So I got fitted up and I had my first football practice that night. So that's kind of how I got started into that aspect of things. And then I've talked about before with the woodworking stuff. My dad used to take us out every Saturday, me and my brother, out to the workshop and we would just do random shit. Most times it was sanding because we were both very small and shouldn't have operated power tools, which was a smart idea. Any parents out there, don't let your children under the age of 10 operate power tools. Talking to you, listener. Not pointing at you, Jeremy. Talking to you, listener. Oh no, on my screen you're below me, so it kind of looked like I was pointing at you. So, but I think that's like my early childhood in a nutshell, pretty much. We had to go play outside to entertain ourselves. Angelina played baseball. I wanted to play baseball. I played baseball for a little bit, and then football. And then, as we'll get on to later, football kind of came the main thing for me. So,
All right.
yeah.
Rami.
Unmute the mic.
I was just about to ask.
No, I did it. That's a joke for the listeners out there because I am very apt not to do that. I don't know. I think I got a lot of my imagination and the things I like to do. It's kind of twofold because when I was a kid, I had lots of Legos. Like, we still have my Lego bin from when I was a kid. It's like 5-10 times more than the Legos that Allison and I have with like my like big boy models and hers put together. It's got to be in the like 20,000 pieces range. But that's including like everything my brother, because he and I both had lots of Legos as kids, got from the age of like me at 5 up until I was like 10 or 12, somewhere in there. And that includes like Bionicles, which are a whole other thing. They're not Legos. Well, they're Legos, but they're not.
Yeah.
I still have all of them.
Yeah,
I still
they're
have
not the
all of
OG
them.
piece, but
No, they're not pieces. They're like
Lego.
figures. They're like the
Yeah.
buildable figures. Construction, I think, is what they're classified as. I don't know. But I did that so much as a little kid, and my parents will tell this story all the time, that I had calluses on my thumbs from putting pieces together. I played with Lego so much. I had like a big pad on each of my thumbs where I would press pieces together. So like I did a lot of that, and I also watched Power Rangers, and there's tons of pictures that my parents have of me in Power Ranger costumes. So that's kind of where I get my, where I collect things. Those are my like two big things that I collect are, specialty Lego sets and then Power Ranger stuff. So that's like kind of my inspiration for like how I got to my collecting stuff now. But I think I've always been interested in puzzles too, even from a young age. Like my grandparents got us like those metal ring puzzles that you have to like work your way out of to separate the pieces. That was the thing I got very young, maybe like 10 years old, like old enough to be able to like figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of that is where I get like my I don't know, puzzly nature. Like I put all my Rubik's cubes on the shelves in my other bedroom, but I have like 24 Rubik's cubes and various other puzzles. So that's kind of where I get that.
You nerd.
Yeah, I am. But I mean, I am. I'm a physicist. Like that's kind of as nerdy as you get. But I think a big thing of where I get my like love for that kind of stuff, and it's kind of weird. There was a show that ended about 6 years ago that a lot of people watched. It was a pretty cool show. Mythbusters was like my brother and I, we always watched that show as kids and up until we were teenagers, and even when I was 18 when that ended or something. A long time.
That was years ago.
Yeah,
we were 18.
Yeah, we were. It was somewhere around there. I don't know exactly how long ago it ended, but it ended, and like I was an adult-ish when the show was over, and it had been around like long enough for me to be really interested in that show. So like, I think that kind of drove my love for, not my love, but my very strong interest in science and whatnot. Kind of came from that show because it was a show meant to like inspire the next generation of like creative thinkers, and the not only like scientists and like that sort of mind, but like people who make things. They're called makers, and there's maker spaces all around the country, and mostly in
so bad.
yeah, mostly in the larger cities. Like I think Pittsburgh has one. I know there's quite a few up in New York and that sort of like around NYC and stuff. And they're places where people can go and you like share tools between people. And it's like anyone from a woodworker to an artist to someone using a CNC machine to all these different things.
That blacksmith.
Yeah. Like there's tons of stuff. 1 second.
Take your time, bud.
Jump back in. So like I think that show, because it drove so much of a like the quest for knowledge kind of like mentality that show had. Like here's this problem or this scenario that we're trying to methodically like figure out what's actually going on, or if it's true or not, or whatever. So like I think that had a lot to do with at least my upbringing. I got an award in the elementary school, whatever, the awards, and they do the same thing at high school, like most, I don't know,
the most
best,
likely to whatever.
Yeah, best smile and whatever. And I got the most scientific in 6th grade or whatever. But it was like mostly because of my interest in like, well, why does that happen that way?
Mine was most likely to be obese.
Stop it.
Oh, mine was most likely to
Stop it, Adam.
already be. Oh.
Both of you stop. Smack both of you.
I didn't even get the footage. Ow.
God damn it.
Oh.
But that's kind of where a lot of that came from for me. So it was, and not to say like I didn't do other things. Like I played every sport in elementary school I could. I think I played football, I played baseball, I played soccer, I played basketball. And then I played I played basketball and football in high school. So like I had a lot of inspiration. Like my dad always used to go outside with us and, you know, throw the baseball around or throw football or do whatever. So like I got a lot of that end of stuff too. Not just like the sit inside and be quiet, but I also did the, you know, go out and, you know, be active and do that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So that's like my early childhood stuff, I guess.
Okay.
Then, if we're going to like mid-childhood, like not quite yet early teens, but like mid-childhood, let's say like, no, what would you guys? 15.
Yeah,
15?
Well, teenagers technically
Oh, is
started.
it happening?
No, you like froze for a second and now you're good.
Oh.
So I mean, like teenagers technically start at 13. So.
Okay, so like just a little before that, I guess, maybe early teen.
So like preteens? Preteens,
Yeah, like
and
preteens,
like
I guess.
13, 14?
The
That area?
angsty
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, the angsty years.
Angsty years. Yeah, so I remember masturbation's what's inspired me to become a porn star. No. I hate myself.
I like how you got both of us mid-vape too.
Yeah, that, I actually was gonna say that, but I thought that was stupid, but it was funny.
What are we gonna do with this kid,
you know,
everyone?
like,
What are we gonna do with him?
I don't know.
Love
Make
and
sure-
caress him. Make sure he grows into the beautiful little flower he is.
Okay, so, I mean, I can remember I was the guy who played the sports, you know, soccer and baseball for like 6, 7, 8 years, maybe. Soccer, I don't know which was longer. Probably baseball, actually, but never got into football because literally weighed 75 pounds until I was in 9th grade. I would have become the ball, and I would have just gotten absolutely destroyed. I mean, obviously, you guys know I didn't play football because I'm alive right now. So, so like soccer, baseball, it just never stuck with me because I didn't have friend like I do now who like got what sports were for. So it was just like, to me, it was just an extracurricular activity that I was in, sucked ass at, never like really practiced outside of being there. Like I was just like, oh, this is just something we all do as kids. That's like a fun thing, like cool. I scored once on accident in soccer. I kicked it, it hit off the top post, like super tall, way too big for his age goalie, like jumped up and it came back to me and I just kept kicking. And it went under his feet, and then I was like, I like ran around the field and stuff, and then I remember there's this kid who plays like D1 soccer right now, came up to me, he was like, hey, you act like you meant to do that next time, and I was like, got it, because it was like total surprise. But you know, that it just never really stuck with me nearly as much as like what art and stuff did. And you know, on the topic of Legos, I had a friend named who really got me into the Lego world way harder than I ever was. You know, I'd always had Legos, and it was always like, oh, Legos are dope. Like, boy, oh boy, when we found out we both had armies in the freaking Star Wars universe in Lego form, oh my gosh, my life had changed forever. I was like the droid army, he was the clones, and we were like, oh, let's build armies and fight each other. That's like where the early, I guess, you know, building sense of it came from. You know, more creativity to just do whatever you wanted to do, and really just explore that whole side of things. We also, this same friend was like a really early on childhood friend that I had because our dads were good friends. So I remember I used to be terrified, I had horrible anxiety. So one day just called Dad and was like, hey, what's coming over today? Is that cool with you? And I was like, no, Dad, no. I remember I was in the background like, I can't. Drove me there, and like he came to pick me up that night, and I was like, I don't want to leave yet. It was like eye-opening into what friendship was. You know, we played soccer together, we played Legos together. We both got into wrestling when we were really young, and that was like my intro to working out. And like, you know, at like age 10, I was like, let's get a six-pack. Oh, it's not possible at all. Obviously, that didn't turn out great, but you know, it happened at one point in my life. You know, but again, it had that whole like showmanship vibe to it, and that's what I loved about it. It was like well, let's get the crowd behind whatever character I am, or whatever, or like let's get them to all cheer for whatever I did, a cool move or whatever. It was pathetic. We had like 2 old mattresses we put up, and we did like Bonton Bomb, and it was like horrible, but it was just fun. Also, Boy Scouts, I guess, played a big part into like the creative side of things, because me and my dad is a mechanic and took a ton of wood shop and Votech wood shop when he was in school, so like had all the tools. He built a lot of our house up because it was like a trash wreck whenever they bought it. Like he has a lot of wood experience, so that's where I got a lot of my like fear of tools, which in some ways is a bad thing, but a lot of ways a good thing. If you ask Eddie, who's like an actual woodworker, how I do things
is fingers, to be honest.
Yes, I'm not gonna get. I'm not gonna get into it, but I've done some really not okay things to do with power tools just to settle, because I was like, well, I don't have this tool, so. Yeah, that got me like real into like the more creative side, and I found the art in it, like when we were making with derby cars, or like when we were building birdhouses or bat boxes, or you know, like we built a tank one year. I don't know why. It wasn't for anything. Oh, I do know why. It was for a parade. We put it on the back of a tow truck, I think my dad's tow truck, and we rode it through the parade as the Boy Scouts. That's why we built that tank. That was cool. We had a whole lock-in night at the church, and I
think that was like a year or 2 after I actually was out of Boy Scouts. Was the year the tank?
Yeah.
Was that Boy Scouts or was that like Cub Scouts?
I went Cub Scouts all the way to Boy Scouts, and I got my Arrow of Light, and then I stopped.
Oh, okay.
It's just like a big deal. I was like the only one in the group who got it, and then it was like, okay, bye. I have it still somewhere. It's over there, actually, but...
Do you remember what troop number you were?
Oh, no, I do not. really ask. I could ask a couple guys and figure it out, but I don't remember what troop number it was.
Okay, because
You?
I was in Boy Scouts. I was in 216.
I don't remember that.
Did
I'll
you
have to
guys
ask my mom or my dad?
did you guys meet in the?
So no.
Okay,
we
so-
met in the bottom of the Zion Church.
Okay, so that's a different troop.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
weird.
different troop.
That's really weird.
Yeah, I also met in a different troop because I met at the church on the way from my town to your town, Jeremy. That
Oh,
church
really?
that's up on the hill with those 3 bells.
Really, you met there?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's where we met.
in Cub Scouts or in Boy
Yeah.
Scouts?
Well,
'Cause that's
hey,
where I
good.
met. That's where I met for Cub Scouts. Really?
Yeah.
There were 3 troops in like 15 miles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ben.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That's wild.
What?
That's actually crazy.
That's
now that we're-
weird. That's so weird.
I want to say I was like troop 319 or something like that.
Yeah, I still have my Boy Scout shirt. Won't
I
fit me
don't.
now.
I don't think I do.
No, like
Literally
a year
75
after-
hours.
Yeah, a year after I grew out of it, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this, and Mom's like, here, and I was like, okay, and that's the last time I ever saw it. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was an XL I wore back then because I was like 16 when I still was in Boy Scouts.
I think I stopped when I was like 14. So.
Yeah,
I was not
I made it to
16 for sure.
like Life Scout or something. It was like 2 below Eagle. Like if I had kept going instead of like deciding
Wow.
that football was more important, I would have been an Eagle Scout. But yeah, whatever.
I don't know. So you got your arrow of light for sure. Then.
Yeah, it's the little blue and yellow one that sits above a pocket, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I had that.
And they give you an actual arrow with like, I don't know. At least they did for me, but
I did not.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll look for some episode, but yeah. So that was a big like Pinewood Derbies. We always
Were
went
the
for like
bomb.
best of show. Yeah. Oh, they were the bomb, but
Sure.
we never went for speed. We're never the race car group. Like one year we made a coffin and it actually opened and there was a skeleton inside.
That's cool.
And yeah, it was awesome. And then another year we went for a school bus, which was horribly slow, but everybody would just go bus, 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 bus. It was like so slow, but it was great. Another year, my dad, like he did most of it because it was like super precise and awesome. But he did a actual bobsled, and it was like sleek as shit. That was probably our fastest one. Still not fast, didn't win anything, but like we always we won best of show like 3 or 4 times. That's another way I connected with my friend Jake because he was in it too. He made a Wii remote the one time. I thought that was awesome. It's like actually a Wii remote. Cool. But yeah, Pinewood Derbies were the shit when I was
Yeah,
a
they
kid.
were.
And that got me a lot into the woodworking sense of things and like got me not afraid of the basement. So,
Not afraid
but
of the
yeah, I mean, truthfully, it's scary down there when you just walk down. There's like 100 saws and stuff and dirt everywhere. You're like, oh, but now it's just like, oh, yeah.
Oh, the
Yeah, like-
smell of freshly cut wood.
Yeah, freshly cut wood and my cat shitting everywhere. Yeah, so, Eddie?
So, I'm not gonna lie to you boys. Like, 9, 10, 11, 12, right before the preteens, as we call it, it was not a good time for your lovable fat boy here. I had started my teenage angst very early. And Mom, Dad, if you're watching this, I'm gonna come straight out. I was the one who stole the beer. I honestly call it, I was an 11-year-old alcoholic. I would take my dad's beer and go behind the garage every night and drink like 2 or 3 of them. And like, my 11-year-old body was big for its age, but didn't have nearly the tolerance that I have now. So like, I was pretty sloshed for an 11-year-old. The cops out there watching, that wasn't their fault. This is all me. So, and the reason I stopped is because I got what I could assume to be drunk at 11, and was playing with fire and almost lit my dog on fire. So I was playing with like an axe can and a lighter, and my dog would jump up and try to grab it and like bite the fire and almost bit the can, and it would have exploded on me and on him. And I was like, you know what? I should probably stop. So most of that phase of my life when I was a pyromaniac, I loved setting shit on fire. I didn't burn anything down, all right? Don't look at me that way.
No.
I would like, I don't know if you guys ever done this, but we used to burn a lot. We used to burn a lot of our boxes and stuff. And I would try to make a trail as long as I could across the yard, and then light the gasoline from that side, and then just watch it go away to the fire pit. So, but, anyways, my inspiration.
Hey.
I mean, that kind of time in my life is when I started. This was before we knew I had diabetes, but I was showing signs of it. So I was a very angry child. But so I think that played a huge factor into everything. I just hated everything. So I mean, I still did baseball, and actually, about 10 is when I quit playing soccer. I played indoor soccer when I was littler. Problem was I was a power kicker. As you guys know, I'm a power everything. So I'll explain a little bit about that. So we do disc golfing, and we used to go a lot.
Oh my god!
And Adam, the one time, recorded us doing it, and me going with the disc in my hand and out of my hand was like under a half a second or something like that.
It was like no frames existed to where it like moved. It was just, wow, it looks like his arm is about to snap, and the disc is gone.
It did look pretty bad. But if you can find that video, maybe we'll put it up or something.
Yeah. I'll try to look for it.
It did look like my arm was going to break. But so I'd always kick the ball really hard, and I was actually stopped. I was asked to stop coming because too many kids were getting hurt because they were trying to block the soccer balls. So.
Oh my god.
But it was not a good time for me in those years. It was just, I was angry all the time, every time, all day, every day. So, I just kind of floated through that area of life. I mean, I kept playing with football. Football did bring me joy. The only thing that did suck is that was like the years where I was close to weight. So I would have to run in my sweatsuit every day during football season. I wasn't allowed to eat anything really. I swear I had a salad 5 days in a row. And only salad, and it was gross. I think that's why I don't like salad now, or maybe just because I'm a fat kid. But I just kind of floated, honestly. I mean, all right, I'll at this one too. Chance and I, about that same time, I spent the night at his house one time, and this is actually what kind of got me starting into like drinking and stuff. His parents were across the road playing poker. It was me, Chance, his older brother, and his older cousin. We stole the liquor and stuff out of the liquor cabinet, and then we went snowboarding. And my Chance's older brother tried to do a 360 and ended up breaking his arm that night. So that was probably like the craziest thing that happened in those years of my life. But other than that, like I said, I kind of floated. I just kind of kept on with what I had been doing. It was when my body started changing. I started maturing very young for a boy. I mean, I grew. I was like 5'4" when I was 11. When I was 12, by the time I turned 12, I was like 5'7". I mean, I was almost as tall as my parents. So,
yes, Lord. And I was like 4'6".
Yes. I was a very big child, so I didn't really have anything that kind of influenced me. I mean, all the stuff that kind of made me the person I am today kind of happened really at the 14 through present age. So, that's all I got. You hear me?
So, yeah. Pre-teens, like 11, 12, it was just, do sports, come home, go do your homework, go to bed kind of stuff. Although when I turned 13 and got into high school and I found out about girls, sweet Jeremy became an angsty little fucker. I was not the best kid.
Maybe that's what it was. I had my first kiss when I was 10 with a girl who has the same birthday as me, actually.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Damn, you guys got early starts.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. When I was young, I like snuck out all the time, and just would go meander through town with my friends and go. There used to be a skate park, or is there still? Yeah, there's a skate park, but like before it was put in, there was another place. It was like back in the woods behind the skate park of my little town, and we had like built bike ramps and stuff back there, and there was a fire pit that people always went and had parties at and stuff. So I ended up sneaking out a lot and being a angsty little fucker at 14.
I was too fat to get through the window, and I was on the second story, so that's why I didn't sneak out.
Boy. But yeah, that was my time. My early teens were not great. But then I kind of petered out of that as I got a little older. I got towards 15-ish. I started playing football again. Like I had taken a break for like a year and a half, 2 years, 2 seasons, 2 whole seasons. Because I played in 7th grade, and then I didn't play in 8th and 9th grade, but I played in 10th grade.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so I took a break for 2 seasons and was a bad kid for a little while. Did some things you probably shouldn't do at 14, 15 years old. Yeah, take your guesses at that. I don't know. I'm not about that stuff anymore. I had my fill.
You robbed a laundromat.
No,
Oh my God.
I didn't actually do that. Never anything that bad. God.
I just held them at gunpoint for a while and then left. All right.
Yeah, I wanted their soap.
Funny. Nobody do that.
No, don't actually. No, don't be an idiot.
You're a young child. Don't listen to anything any of us do.
Actually, you probably shouldn't even be listening to this video if you're young.
What the hell are you doing? Go get your parents and tell them this is a bad show. Make me stop watching it. And show your older brother and tell him to subscribe.
Oh my God. But preteens were weird. They were all over the place for me. I was angry a lot and fought with my parents about a bunch of stupid shit that I should never have fought with them over.
When you look back at it now, there was no real reason to it.
Yeah, it was just dumb. It was just really dumb. But yeah, as I got older, things mellowed out, and I found my niche, because at the same age that I started playing football, I started doing musicals. Actually, no, I take that back. I did a musical before I started playing football, and I played basketball that same year that I did the musical. The first one that I did, which was Seussical?
What year is it? 9th grade?
Yeah, Seussical.
Yeah, it was Seussical.
I did that musical and played basketball the same year again. I went back into it, and I got my head on straight. I don't know what you would want to call that, but I had this peak, and then I just kind of came back down and mellowed out. So I don't know, I was all over the place.
We all were.
All the colors, huh?
So what about your early teenage years there, Adam? We'll go 13 to 16-ish.
Hey, teen years is where a lot of shit started happening. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Your balls drop or what?
Oh, that wasn't until late 20s. Actually hasn't even happened yet. I was drinking yesterday. I was like, oh! But so early, it was that's when girls started hitting for me. It was really bad, but you know what I mean. So there was a time where there's this thing we have called Camp Cadet. I don't know if it's a worldwide thing or if it's just around here thing.
No,
but Okay, so you guys might know what it is. What I called it was Young Military Camp. Because,
Man, it's not a bad description for it.
Try to understand this. For all of you who went through hell and have really shitty home lives, I'm very sorry. But I didn't. We're very religious. I was super sheltered. I've never, experienced anything hard up to this point into my early teens. And that was like a freaking wake-up call. It was like, we're going to work out every day. We're going to yell at you. We're going to... Keep in mind, there were fun times. They're not a shit program at all. I fully believe in it. I think it's great. I remember getting there and bawling my eyes out, and I had my sunglasses on. I remember the first thing the guy said to me when we got to the table with my dad was, take your sunglasses off so we can make sure you're not a criminal. And I was like, oh my god, dude, this place is for the real hard criminals. Oh god. So I took them off and I'm crying behind my glasses. I wasn't the only one. There were lots of kids crying. Then I remembered he made me take my ring off, and I was like, oh, dare he? He can't make me do that. That's my ring. Make me do that. But that's where I met my first real relationship. I had my first slow dance at military camp. And then it wasn't my first kiss, but it was my first real make-out sesh. Not at military camp. Not at military camp. It was we met at military camp. I'm gonna call it that, all right? No disrespect to anyone who's actually in the military. You know what? Screw it. I'll call it Camp Cadet because it's not military camp at all. Because I have friends who are in the military and they've described to me what that's actually like, and it's just. Camp Cadet, met her there. It was my first relationship. We were on and off for 4-ish years. That was what got me into the real romanticism. I was like, this is what life is for. Finding your other half and being in love. It was 13, 14. That was when that really hit. Also, going into high school, this is where I discovered that I was considered annoying as fuck to most of the world. And don't blame anybody at all, because good lord, I watched videos back of myself and I'm like, wow, I get it. But at the time I was like, I'm being bullied. I hate high school. But it was just that I was annoying and needed to grow up, and my balls needed to at least, start to droop. Not drop, but droop.
Just droop. Okay.
Yeah, just droop. Two O's, not one. No, there was that, but that is also when I discovered I knew about musical. I was always into it. I did all the junior stuff because the high school program does a junior musical type program for younger kids, and I did all those. And so I kept getting these invitations. I was like, I want you to be in the musical, and I was like, but I don't want to because I have anxiety. My mom was like, you're doing it, and I was like, fuck. I did it. I fucking loved it. After 7th grade, she never had to convince me ever again. I was like, I'm there, dude. And actually, there was still some convincing till about 9th or 10th grade to change. We'll get there. But that was where I started to make friends. That was where people started to accept me, because musical, you're is kind of a family of everybody, black, white, no matter what race, religion, sexual orientation you are,
size,
everybody, you're gonna find, size, is it race, religion, creed, sexual orientation, whatever you are, it's just a family, and we all love each other, and we all hate each other sometimes, of course, but we all love each other at the heart of it. And where I started to get accepted for, wow, this kid is fucking annoying as shit, but it's not that bad sometimes. 7th, 8th, 10th grade, it started to switch because people found out I was entertaining, and anything they said, I would then do it. Remember one time, this is how Tyler and I, this is the very early bits of Tyler and I's friendship. He told me, he was like, hey, go see how many girls you can kiss tonight. I remember, so then it just became me running around kissing as many girls as I could on the cheek. I got to 16. Keep in mind, that sounds very sexual assaulty, but I was 13 at the time, so it wasn't. And they were all like, oh my god, he just kissed me on the cheek. Oh my goodness. Oh, oh my god, that's crazy. Because back then I was 75 pounds, and I was kind of a snack. I don't want to lie, but It wasn't like now if I kiss someone on the cheek, it'd be like, oh my god, he's such a fucking rapist. Get him away from me. Oh my god. It was a different story back then because I was younger and it was cute. Even our director was like, oh, Adam, woohoo. But I got the 16. It's like the early friendship of Tyler and I. So like that was like my whole musical, and I was like, wow, we can practice for a couple months and then an audience will come see us. That I remember, like, before I understood what sex and orgasms were about, that's the closest I can describe to you what an orgasm would be. I was like getting on stage night of and having that crowd reaction. I was like, this is actually a drug. So as much as, you know, Eddie and Jeremy probably relate to a lot more of you out there because I never was like the rebel kid until recently at like 2021. You know, I don't even know what alcohol is at this point. You know, people are talking about going out and doing the doobies with their friends, and I'm like, I know a guy named Doobie. Like, you know, like, didn't understand sex, didn't understand drugs, didn't understand any of this. I just knew that the closest thing I've come to orgasming before actually figuring out what it meant was being on stage opening night of a musical. Even if I was background, 75 pounds, 4 foot tall, nobody could see me for shit. I heard that applause and I was there for it. So, like, this is like where my life takes a hell of a leap in the right direction. And I start to make some lifelong friends. Lifelong, even though I'm 21, but you know what I mean.
So what was your first musical, by the way?
Christmas. Great.
White Christmas. Yeah, that was a good one.
And still one of my favorites. That's the show I've been in the least, but it still was just so. I remember opening night, they didn't tell anybody, but they had Snow Machine. And they didn't say shit. There's always this moment where they open the barn doors at the end and they're like, it's snowing. I remember opening night, they opened the barn doors and it was fucking snowing. And I was like, oh my god, theater is fucking magical. It's like, how are they doing this? And like the crowd, I remember, was even like, ooh. And I was like, they think we're acting. But I am for real amazed right now because it has never once snowed on stage until this moment. And then it snowed in the audience. I don't remember, like, it's crazy to think about now because that's a hell of a cleanup, but it snowed in the fucking audience. Like, how cool is that for a 7th grade kid to be like, holy crap, it's snowing everywhere! It was awesome. That was my first musical.
Was that the year after Seussical?
Yeah, that was 10th grade year.
Okay, I was gonna say, like,
yeah,
I
was 7th.
Vague remembrance of that. I had a weird part in that. I was in like 2 things. It was weird.
I remember you in there. I remember both of you in there.
No, I was the conductor.
Sweeten your pancakes.
And then I was on the dance team too. I remember that.
You know what I'm talking about? Can you?
Huh?
Never.
I actually still have that syrup jug.
Oh, do you?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Eddie played this character. You should explain this. You should
explain this, Eddie.
Well, so in White Christmas, I played the character Ezekiel. Ezekiel was kind of the caretaker. Ezekiel was a little slow. And I was big, so I played a slow part really well for some reason. I don't know why. But my girlfriend at the time was the woman I bought this house for. They did an 8-minute production of My Little Piano, and I had a 30-second bit after they were done that got more applause than their entire 8-minute production. And she was pissed. So, and my famous line from that was, yup. Yup.
I remember you
telling. It was amazing.
I remember you telling me about how bad she got after the first night. I remember.
She didn't talk to me for like 45 minutes. I'm like, what did I do? What is wrong?
They just said, oh yeah, I'll sweeten your pancakes.
And all I did was I did a little jig and I said, well, fuck, how did that even go?
I don't even remember.
Something about a piano, and then the guy who's supposed to like take care of me, like be my boss, was like yelled my name. I was like, oh yep, and I just left.
So good though, like people lost their minds.
Mm-hmm.
You got we got extremely lucky as a high school. We got one who's worked with many people on Broadway. I'm pretty sure has been on Broadway themselves as our director. one of the people who has changed my life forever, and I will never ever like not be insanely thankful for. So like our shows were always like high-key insane for high school. Like I don't mean to be like one of those guys to brag, but that's so lucky. So like when I say like the crowd went wild, it wasn't like 5 people in the back like people, like the whole theater went off when Eddie would say stuff like that for that show. It was the best.
It felt so stupid, but people loved it.
It was so good.
And the whole thing about the syrup is, one of my lines was, well, that ought to sweeten your pancakes. And I had a syrup jar in my hand, and they gave it to me after the show. And like, I think it's down in the storage unit. I know I got it out of Dad's house. It's around here someplace.
Put that on the t-shirts that year.
Yeah, it was the
sweeten your pancakes.
It was the back of the shirts. So
best moment ever. Oh, sorry, your turn.
So 13, 14, 15, 16ish is kind of where shit started looking up for old Diabeto here. So 13 was when we really started to notice me being tired and sluggish and just an asshole. All right. It was also the year I had my big growth spurt. So I played football when I was younger, and I played band for as long as possible. And so at 12, when my body wanted to grow, I was starving of its nutrients because I was eating only what I had to, just so I could stay underweight so I could play in the game. Because I was the center, and we had a backup center, but he wasn't very good. So I see a little smirk down there. But so I had to make sure I was a key player, is what I'm saying. So I worked really hard, but probably within the next 2 months after I got done with my whole fasting and all that stuff, I grew about 6 inches in 2 months. I mean, I was growing through clothes. I have stretch marks. I think I've talked about them before. I actually still have the stretch marks from me just growing so exponentially. But that's also when my body kicked itself out of that overdrive that I had because I wasn't getting nutrients into the slow, progressive thing it is today. 13 really didn't change. We started to notice stuff, but 14, when I found out I was diabetic, it changed a lot. Everything changed a lot. I changed as a person. I mean, Mom said she saw it overnight. I used to just kind of waltz through the checkout line and stuff, but like she said, the first day afterwards, I was like bright and cheery, and I wanted to talk to the person and not just be there. So that's when my life started to change. But like you, Adam, 7th grade, I actually didn't want to do musical. My sister was in the musicals. And I actually hated sitting through the musicals because I was a kid and didn't want to sit there for 2.5 hours. So,
okay.
She took me to the first audition. Our director loved me instantly. So I did it. It was pretty fun. I had some rough times. That was like when my relationships kind of started too. So, and I had a relationship problem, and it was not good, and it really affected me that year. But I had fun, and then the next year I came back, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And she's like, well, come on, just give it a try. So I did the next year, and I had a ton of fun with that one. And actually, funny enough, that year is the year I first got my crush on the girl I had a crush for 8 years on.
Yeah.
And I still remember what she wore the night I was like, I think I'm in love. So,
yeah.
One of those things that's always in the back of the head, but I'm like, you stay back there, you fuck. But influences, at that point I was kind of at odds with my dad because I was an asshole. He was also kind of an asshole, but we were like different types of asshole. It was a weird mix. But then like 15, I started to come to my senses. It's like he's actually trying to look out for what's best for me. So, coincidentally, that was also the time my parents split up. So that was it was a rough time for me, but I got through it. I'm better for what I am now. But so I really had to take influences from my dad and my mom. Both of them now becoming single parents, respectively, and them trying to figure out how to raise two boys, especially two boys that are in their prime growing stages, because this happened when I was like 14. William would have been like turning just 12, so he also would have been just hitting his growth spurt. So trying to keep us clothed and fed was a feat nonetheless, to be honest. I mean, we ate a lot, and I never realized how good we actually ate until I didn't have any money to pay for food, and I didn't eat, and I was like, shit, I used to eat pretty fucking good. So I took a lot of influence from their ways of handling the problems life throws at you, and I think that's where I learned my problem solving skills from. About that time is when I also fell back in love with woodworking, because I don't know what it was, 9th grade year, I think there was like 4 people in my woodshop class altogether, and it was one of the best times of my life. I made shit, and I fell back in love with it. So that kind of inspired me to keep going with it. And then football, I was big. People couldn't move me. So that's about it. So I stuck with football.
I like it.
And actually through musical and football, I met one of my friends that we don't really talk that much. But he was Jeremy. He was my right guard. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh yeah. He's always been a good guy. I'll tell you who it is afterwards. All right, buddy.
Yeah, no, you're good.
He was always a good guy. Always will be a great guy. He moved away for college, and like every once in a while, I talk to him when he's back in town, and he's just a good guy. So that's kind of that period of my life is when I really started to kind of get my head on straight instead of up my ass. So that's kind of where life started going up for Eddie. But influence-wise, it was a lot from my parents, my grandfather, my grandmother. That's when I really noticed how kind and caring my grandmother was. That's when I started to notice how much bullshit she put up with her husband, who I will honestly say, and I don't use this word a lot, I hate with every fiber of my being. So, but I think that's really where that age of that life kind of got me. So, Jeremy?
Mute the mic.
There we go.
So, you know, teenage years in, like I talked about a minute or two ago, you know, my mid-teens, so like 15, 16 era, you know, I kind of drastically changed who I was, and I didn't have like a whole lot of influence for that. I think I just had directive for a lot of that. Like I finally started like having direction. Like I got up for school, went to school, then went to, you know, football practice or musical or, you know, whatever it was. Like I did a bunch of different things then too. Like I was in the percussion ensemble at one point. Marching band during football season, and like I had a bunch of stuff going on. Yeah, like I had tons of stuff going on all the time, so I didn't really have time to do my own thing, really. It wasn't till like all of that ended my senior year, and then I got out of high school and I was left kind of to my own devices to kind of figure out where I wanted to go from there.
Yeah.
So like I didn't have too many big influences. Like yes, I saw my parents all the time. Like they, you know, steered me in the right direction. Kind of helped me get my shit together, if you want to say that much. You know, nothing like crazy, nothing that like really jumps out and says, "Hey, you know, don't be a shithead." Like, you know, other than that, like there was no, like I didn't really have any like artistic directive, or I didn't have any like you know, oh, this is what I want to do with my life kind of a thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because one,
24 and I still don't know what I do with my life.
Me either, you know. But like, what was I gonna say? I had something. Damn it.
Sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's.
Don't hit me, Dad. I'm sorry.
You know, like going into college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So for that aspect, at least, like I changed my major like 4 times.
I didn't do that.
Throughout college, I changed I went in for like math, then I changed to math ed for like teaching high school.
Okay.
And then once I got to university, I changed again to engineering, and then after that, I changed to physics. And became a physicist. Shitty as weird as that is. But you know, high school, it was weird. Like, I didn't have anyone that like truly inspired me to do things. Obviously, I had the same musical director as you guys, and same band director as Eddie. You were in marching band with me, and like those two people, they were really big influences on like motivation, I guess. Like, hey, you're here to perform and do a thing and do a job. You know, you need to do those things right now. And do them
to the best of your ability.
Right, and do it, you know, at least correctly, if not, you know, as well as you can. So like those two people, they're really, I guess the two people in high school, at least from like staff, that I remember that like really gave me some directive. Also football coaches, I guess too. Like, we've talked about him before, our defensive line coach, Eddie.
I think I've said his name before, too.
Yeah,
I think you have
as well.
I think you have.
Coach Markle.
Yeah, he was
He's a special breed.
He was a, I'm not going to take your shit, so don't give it to me kind of guy.
Yep.
And I think that helped, too. Like, I broke a finger one time during practice, and he's like, does that hurt? I was like, you know, kinda, yeah. He's like, all right, fix it and keep going. So I like popped my finger back into place and just kept on going. I went and got it wrapped. It was my pinky. It's kind of all fucked up, and I'd broken this one at another point too. So at one point I had like all 3 of these fingers just kind of taped together. Yeah, but like, you know, it was just one of those things like, all right, you know, that hurts. Yeah, I get it. Like, but, you know, does it hurt bad enough to go sit down? Probably not. Get up and do your job. Do what you're here to do. So, those people, I guess, really, you know, inspired me to, like, you know, they're very oriented. Like, you have a job to do, go do it. I mean, obviously, you know, my parents kind of pushed me to, you know, do great all the time, but they weren't there through every minute of everything.
Well, obviously, and they can't be. So,
right?
No, I mean, they had their own lives. They had to pay for my food somehow because I wouldn't stop fucking eating.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, I was probably a terror on their house too when I was playing football. I'm sure I consumed like 4,000, 5,000 calories a day without batting an eye. You know. Oh man.
This didn't hit me till recently. Like, I didn't eat much, man. And
then all of a sudden
rolled around and I was like, I need to get big for this role. And then I just stuck. I was like, wow, this life is better than the other one.
Oh, man. But yeah, so I guess we can kind of bleed into, like, adulthood. Because we're rounding out our hour here.
It's there.
Yeah.
So, adulthood, I've re-gotten into a lot of things that I did as a kid. Like, I watch Adam Savage's YouTube channel.
Yes.
That's been a really big
channel.
It's been a awesome thing to watch. And I've gotten into some bigger channels, I guess. Some big boy channels. Like, I've watched a couple machining channels. This old Tony, I've talked about him episode 2 or 3.
Yeah, it was early.
Ooh,
Yeah, I remember.
that was 2 months ago. Whew, that's a long
Yeah,
time.
it's crazy.
But him, A-Bomb 78, he's a really good machinist too. So like, still like that, like creating, like changing, and being able to manipulate stuff, and I don't know, is really cool to me and really fascinating. I watch a bunch of the people who solve Rubik's Cube channels and all that sort of stuff too.
Classics.
Yeah, and obviously as being an adult and having a child, I look up to my dad and up to my mom a lot. Seeing how they raised me, I think I turned out half okay. So like taking their lead and trying to figure out what's the best course for my daughter too has been a really big help. And even looking at my family, because like I still have two grandmas and a granddad, and then my great grandma is still around. So I like look at them and look kind of down the line of all the different people, like their kids and their grandkids, and me being a great, and Allison being a great granddaughter. Trying to figure out like, okay, this is how far we've come. How do I take it into the next step?
Yeah.
So, if you guys can go now.
Adam, I'll let you finish the episode since you started. For me, so like 16 to now, a lot of things helped mold me the way they are. One of them was, unfortunately, the breakup of the woman I bought this house for, and I've talked about that before. That kind of opened my eyes. Further relationships beyond that. Buying a house, it was a big upstep. I mean, my brother graduated, mom moved out, which understandable. She gave me fair warning. So the only thing I kind of wish would have happened is if I would have prepared myself more for the house owning and all that bullshit. But that's one of those things you'll never really be ready for until you're like a half a year into it. So
wow. Yeah.
But and obviously my dad, he has changed. I have, like I've said before, I have 4 other step siblings with 10 nieces and nephews. So watching my dad help raise them the same way he raised me is weird. And I also noticed, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this with their grandparents, or if like they have children with their parents, that shit I would have done when I was their age would have gotten my ass whooped. But that's a story for a different time.
Yeah.
You mean grandparents letting grandkids get away with whatever they want?
Yep.
That's kind of the point of grandparents. Because at any point they can just be like, oh, you're cool. Here you go.
Very true, very true. But watching my dad do his work like that, and obviously my dad is a very hard worker. Honestly, he works too much. When I bought this house, he worked in the oil fields, still works in the oil fields, but a different company and stuff. He would work 60-hour weeks, and he's 50. I mean, he's not the same young buck he was, and he'd come home for the week he was back, and like every time I'd call to come see her or something like that, he'd be asleep. And I'm like, well, shit, he only got like 4 hours of sleep a night for 2 weeks. He wasn't used to that. So watching him grind the way he has at the age he is has been kind of awesome, and kind of disheartening too, just to see him have to work as hard as he is. So, but and then mom's always been a hard worker. Her and her husband are good. If you're watching this, Jim, it's a very generic name. I like you. We don't get along sometimes. We butt heads. So that's the reason why. I still love you.
Jim.
I love you, Mom. Keep on doing you.
I've seen you like 3 years, but I still love you.
But no, and she's taken a different life. One that is more kind of like a grandparent thing. I mean, she still checks in on us. I mean, she just called me yesterday to check in on us, but we obviously don't talk like we did when I lived with her and stuff like that. So, which is understandable. Life happens. Shit gets busy. Most times it's me, the one that's busy. So, but that's kind of shaped me to who I am today. And then obviously my friends. I don't know if you two fucks realize this, but I didn't really have friends in high school. I mean, Jeremy and I were kind of friends, but I think it was more because you and I were in a lot of things together, so we saw each other a lot. Like, you and I didn't really hang out. We didn't really talk that much. I mean, we definitely talk a lot more now than we do when we did back then.
Right. I think that kind of has to go with high school. You don't. At least I didn't either. Like, I didn't hang out with a lot of people outside of school. Like, I had my school friends, but then the people I did all these things with, but I didn't have, like, I didn't go over to somebody's house every weekend and hang out for the day. You know, I didn't really have that either. So I definitely get what you're saying. I for sure do.
But especially in your case, Jeremy, watching you grow up the way you did, as quickly as you did with Alice and everything like that, kind of opened my eyes that life fucking comes at you quick. And you gotta try and be ready for as much as possible. So, and Adam, honestly, with the whole YouTube shit, I'm so excited you finally got into it. I'm so excited you're fucking thumbing, my dude. And I'm proud of you, and I love you, bitch.
I love you too, bitch. Never gonna stop loving you, bitch. Alright. No, but thank you.
My friends have been a big help too, because especially after the woman I bought this house for, let's just call her Mary. Make things simple. When Mary and I broke up, I was in a bad place. I've talked about it before. There's no reason for me to get back into it. Plus, I don't want to make this thing any longer than Jeremy wants to edit for. But when Mary and I broke up, I was in a rough place, and it kind of took those guys trying to dig me out of the fucking hole I drilled into the earth for myself. So, and they've been a big help to me. And I know at any time, if I ever needed anything, I could call on you guys, and you would do whatever you can. Obviously, both of you have limitations. If I was stuck under a truck, I don't expect either of you to try and pick the truck up. Now, me, I know I'm strong enough to maybe pick the truck up, so I will try and pick the truck up. So, before I get any sappier and make myself feel like a little bitch, Adam, what about you, buddy?
So we'll call this the year of heartbreak and finding myself. Let me try to... how long have we been going? Timer?
Yeah, an hour 11.
Shoot, okay. Alright, so... This is where, like, I discovered what pain felt like. Like, where I was like, ooh, I hurt my finger before, but this hurts more than that. This is where I discovered that girls don't always stick around forever, and you're not just gonna marry the first person you find and think you love. You don't understand love at age 14, 15, 16, I don't know, even to 18 is a little rough. 18, I can think maybe you might understand it. My mom was like, to this day, she's like, nah, you don't know what love is like. I'm like, okay, well, I'll figure it out. Like, these years, it was like early adulthood, I guess we'd call it.
Yeah.
That I really, late teen, early adulthood, that I really, like, changed. 10th grade, I got cast in the role as Donkey in the musical Shrek. Now, those of you who know anything about Shrek or the role of Donkey, even in the movie, it's very similar to the actual musical show.
He killed it, by the way.
Thank you. I was just that in real life. So, like, I'm not just trying to be like a braggy. Like, this is what happened. I was that character in real life. So, like, that person, a lot of people go, wow, that's annoying. When you put it in context of, we're doing a show and he's playing this character, people go, wow, he's just really good at acting. I wasn't, though, at that time. I've worked hard at getting better at acting, but I didn't have to work for that role once I got it at all. I didn't have to, like, rehearse. I didn't have to practice. I'm not trying to make myself look like a, like, great almighty acting god. I was just annoying and, like, loud and talkative and, like, did accents just on the normal. So, like, when they were like, get up there, do an accent and act crazy, I was just like, so be myself. And they're like, yeah. And then everybody's like, wow, he's such a good actor. So that's when I got, like, a lot of friends. And I got lifelong friends to this point. Me and Tyler, the man who got cast as Shrek, came, like, real close to where, like, people would, like, talk about us as a duo. They would never just be like, hey, Ty, do you want to come to this party? It'd be like, hey, do you and Adam want to come to this party? It was never like, we were a separate thing, you know. So for most of like 10th, 11th, 12th, like the 2 years after high school, up till this point, I have always been like ride or die guys. As you grow up, you obviously can't just keep obviously we can't stay at each other's house every night anymore. You know, we both have girlfriends. He's looking into settling down and starting a family, so it's like, it's not as much as that anymore. Am I mad about it? Am I hurt about it? No. This is where, you know, and also through like 10th, 11th, 9th, 10th, 11th grade, I met William, I met Eddie, I met Jeremy, all still like, I consider, you know, my closest friends. Theater very much changed who I was and made me a lot who I am today, because it's just the change you can see in people and the amount of effect you can have on people in a short hours really gave me some perspective into, wow, like, really changed people's perspective on like a lot of stuff in the amount of 2 hours. Mm-hmm. Like every second you have people's attention, it's way more precious than you realize, because you can really like make them look at something differently, or really make them like remember you for some reason, or remember what you did for some reason. So it became, you know, like very almost like sacred to me in a way. I was like, this is like fucking blessed as shit to be in this position and have the opportunities that I did with theater, or meet the people I did through theater. And, you know, I call it the heartbreak era at the beginning of this little talk I had, but like, also did that happen in a way. You know, I was always very like, thought I understood relationships and like thought I had it all figured out with women, and I just never have. So it's very necessary to like knock me down a few thousand million pegs to, you know, really get the point across to me. I feel things really hard, so those of you who are gonna be like, oh, poor Adam, no, I'm just a fucking sympathy bank. Like, even like, I'm just a pussy is really what it comes down to. I had a relationship that lasted 4 months, and I was like convinced I was gonna marry this girl. She just left kind of out of the blue, and I, for literally a year, was just done with everything. It's actually pathetic when you talk about it now, but at the time I was like, no, this is realistic. I'm feeling this, and everyone should get it, because 4 months is a long fucking time. Sounds stupid, but yeah, so a lot of you know, big in terms of relationships, and me really like being like, wow, I don't have this all figured out. And the time where I really got solid relationships with the people I'm still friends with, and the people who always have my back now, and the people I'll always have their back now. Like, you know, especially like this has become a recent thing. I mean, me and Eddie have always been close. We've always talked. I've always talked to Jeremy here and there, you know, seen him here and there. We didn't really like, we weren't like close like until recently, but like I'm very thankful that it's become that way, because it's including like D&D, like all that kind of stuff. It's just brought like, all of us a lot closer than I feel like we've ever been, which is, I'm very thankful for that, and the way that this has all gone up to this point, you know. And like Eddie said, you know, I really finally took the YouTube route, because it kind of just, like, I'd always watch back to those were always a big influence on me. I like it connected one year, and I heard it from enough people that were like, hey Adam, you should just go for it, just like start, just try. Then I was like, you know, yeah, okay. And then like I started, and I was like, oh, I get why people wanted me to do this. Like performing, acting like an idiot, playing games, make art, kind of. So it's like all just a combination of everything I love. I don't know why I said combination like an idiot, but I did. Yeah, that's, you know, right now that's the route I'm doing. Still have any clue like where I'm going? No. Do I have a more stable idea of what I want to do? Sure. At 21 years old, I'm like, I kind of think I might have a path that I kind of want to go. You know, like, performance really is what I'm going for now. You know, for a while, I did the whole, yes, I love it more than anything, but is it likely? You just can't do that in life. Like, really.
Yeah.
The years 20 through 30, I know a lot of people think those are the years you should be growing up. I think those are the years you should take the high risk, low reward things in life. Now, you could disagree with me and say, like, no, that you should take that time to grow up. But I'd rather spend these 10 years eating shit and feeling shitty, and maybe not getting much back in return, and not doing anything and then regretting it for the other 60, 70 years of my life.
Okay.
Spend all this time eating the dirt and being like, or, you know, any of that, just seeing where it would go, rather than, like, spending the rest of the time going, I missed my opportunity, you know? That's kind of how I'm trying to live things right now. Because is YouTube, like, a really solid career choice? is acting a really solid career choice? No. Both things that require an extreme amount of luck, and saying once you get there it's a bad career choice? No, because, like, the people who are doing it great and thrive. But,
yeah.
Going like, I'm gonna be an actor, or I'm gonna be a YouTuber, it's like, ooh, okay. Alright. You know, but that's where I'm going right now, and I think we're caught up, and sorry I've rambled for so long, but I thought this was a good episode.
It was a good episode. As a quick side rant, Adam and I were never really friends when he was younger because he was always William's friend. And I didn't quite feel right, kind of like imposing myself in like that kind of like way. And then William kind of did William things and ended up kind of falling off the wagon a little bit. And then that's when Adam and I really started talking. So it's a little history of our
friendship. And then D&D just extended the crap out of it. Like D&D became the thing where I was like, this guy Eddie, my friend Eddie, knows a lot about it. Yeah.
And then Jeremy, you and I rolled the whole way back to fucking Bulldog days.
Oh wow!
I actually have a picture of you on your senior day. I found the pictures of senior day, and yeah, it's you and I think it's your mom. There. Yeah, it was Doug in there too. So I saw those. I was like, holy shit! Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he'd be like one or two or three.
I was muted for that. Fucking whatever. God damn it. Hate life. Hate everything. It doesn't matter. It's all blah.
Yeah, it's all part of the void.
So I think that's the end of the episode, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for listening to us babble and go off on some self-reflections and journey through our own lives. So thanks. Merch is still on its way. We're still figuring things out. We're gonna probably, I'm not gonna give a time limit. We'll figure it out later.
Screw up.
Yeah, I'm not gonna put myself in that position. It's on its way. We're doing what we can. We're trying to figure it out. It's a process. We've never done anything like this. Prices, roughly, depending on how many we order, could be around $25 or $30 a t-shirt. It's expensive, but low runs like that are they're going to be more expensive. If I were buying 5,000 shirts, they'd be $15.
Yeah. But we don't have the room to store 15,000 shirts.
Right. Or the
Support your boys!
Or the capital to do that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
For the people to buy them.
Yeah, no. So that's
average like 30 viewers.
Yeah, that's a rough amount that someone could expect to pay for a t-shirt. Let us know if you like that idea. If not, I can always just like go through custom ink and they're probably less. I don't know, really.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm trying to give small business a shot. Give some of these people who do t-shirts for a living and for like sports teams and shit. I'm trying to give them some business, so that's the route we're taking. Let us know. Thanks everybody. See ya.
Love you. Peace.